Well, I had something to discuss about executive session, which obviously I think most people realize it does reduce transparency, and I would typically request that council take great caution in the use of executive session. Although to one point of discussion from Mr. Dieters, if the police see a crime in action, they act. The section 8.03 of the charter, as it relates to the law director, says the law director shall prosecute for all offenses against the ordinances and resolutions of the city, and such offenses against the laws of Ohio as may be required by law. So just to simply say, I'm not going to prosecute just because I need to talk to somebody about it, seems to be unacceptable. Having said that, during the Finance Committee meeting last week, we heard from the Finance Department that when the city spends more money than has been budgeted, they are technically breaking the law. Yet public records show that the city administrator and the mayor executed a contract with the finance manager for an amount that is $7,000 greater than the amount appropriated for that position. I was just wondering, Mr. Fitzgerald, were you aware that the contract exceeded the amount appropriated by council?
You're entitled to participate in this meeting, but I am not obligated to respond to you.
Okay, I appreciate that no answer. Mayor Bancroft, were you aware that the contract exceeded the amount appropriated?
I've had communication with council, and I think this is just out of hand.
It's just a simple question.
I think this has gotten out of hand, and it looks really poorly to our
Okay,
residents.
since the charter states that the city administrator shall execute and deliver all contracts, except contracts for an annual audit, I was curious to why, Mayor Bancroft, you signed the contract for the finance manager's salary. Thank you very much. Mr. Hartzell, maybe you can help me. As the chair of finance, has anyone spoken with the law director about holding Mr. Fitzgerald or Ms. Bancroft accountable for the shortfall?
Not to my knowledge. We only asked questions that we did not get answers to.
I know the feeling. Do we have any idea where the city will get the extra $7,000?
The finance director has to look through the budget and give us recommendations, which we are looking for.
Okay, thank you. And third, speaking of contracts, on April 28th, I submitted a public records request asking for records documenting the contractual agreements for employment between Mark Fitzgerald and the city of North College Hill. Now, nearly 3 weeks later, I have not received a reply to my request to answer your question, Ms. Stiles.
Thank you.
According to the Public Records Act of the Ohio Sunshine Law, inspection of the records must be provided promptly, and copies of the records must be provided within a reasonable amount of time. I would have to think that most of us would agree that 3 weeks is more than reasonable, and it's definitely not prompt. Also, the law states that noncompliance may cost the city $100 per day should I desire to litigate. When can I expect an official reply to my request?
Mr. Shea, I'll answer that question. I believe an email either went out to you today or it was on my secretary's desk when I left. I disagree with you completely about what reasonable means. Reasonable is based on the totality of the circumstances. Don't smile and laugh like you're an idiot. I didn't do that to you when you're up there pontificating. So
Well,
you're gonna
actually,
listen.
you have.
Excuse me.
Actually, you
Let
have.
me finish. You are going to listen to me now.
Well, you know, really,
Okay?
I don't have to listen to you.
Well, I can ask you questions. Can I ask you questions? Are you willing to answer 'em?
Technically, this is a council meeting.
I-
But go
you
ahead,
just
Mr.
asked me a
Dieters.
question.
Go ahead, Mr. Dieters. No, I did
How
not
do you
ask
define
you.
the- how do
I
you
did not
define the
ask
word
you
prompt?
a question.
I'm answering your question, sir. You asked when you could receive the records.
I asked a question from the administration.
And last time I checked, I was part of the administration.
Correct.
Okay?
Go ahead and answer it, sir.
That dealt with issues regarding someone's payroll records.
Yes, which is public record.
Do you have a hard time listening? Because
Not at
let
all.
me finish speaking, okay? Because I
Go
didn't
ahead.
interrupt you. I gave you the courtesy not to do so. All right? Are we clear? Are we clear? That involved payroll records, which have issues regarding social security numbers, which can have issues regarding personal privacy matters. It can have issues regarding criminal background check information. It is issues which we as a city, if we release that information regarding a public employee, and we haven't done our due diligence to check that to ensure that nothing gets out that we're not permitted to release, the city's exposed to liability. So I would say to you, waiting 12, 13, 14 business days for payroll records is not unreasonable. And if you should so choose to sue the city for that, I would invite you to get started this evening. Secondly, please define to me for the word prosecute. What do you think? How is it defined?
I'm just going by what
Do
says
you think
in
Joe
it. I'm
Dieters
just
makes
going by
decisions
by
to
the
prosecute
charter, sir.
individuals willy-nilly just because he sees something? You don't think he takes into consideration knowing both sides of the story? You don't think he takes into consideration listening to his police officers, listening to his detectives, talking to witnesses before he chooses to prosecute? You, by God, beg sure he does. Prosecution is not enforcing the laws. It's a whole separate arm. So before you want to stand up and talk to this council and talk to me that way, know what you're talking about, sir. I
just
have
read
the
the
right
charter.
to talk to my clients. I have the right to explore the issue, and I have the right to investigate before I throw cuffs on somebody or ask that their careers or their professional dignity or integrity suffer as a result of some allegation that's made that I don't even know whether or not it's accurate or not. So we'd be a lot better off stop throwing stones at each other and realizing that we have a city to run. Thank you.
I've asked questions.
Thank
All
you.
I'm asking is to get answers.
You just got some from me. Whether you liked them or not, you got them.
I'm just appreciative that somebody was able to give me some answers. That's all I have. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, Mr. Whittle, has anyone signed in to speak?